to what level do you think it could actually be reformed? And then I'll give my perspective as well on that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a question. That's a good question. I do guess get asked that a lot. How, on what basis are these people saying that Islam can be reformed when Islam is all about, and I used to think this too when I first left Islam, that, Islam is, because I was a Salafi. So I was, Salafism is another word for Wahhabism, which is the Saudi kind of hardline version of Islam. It's a very literalistic version of Islam, that people, that they themselves are against terrorism, but like I was against terrorism, I was against all of that stuff, even as a Salafi, but it's much closer to what we call jihadism, or like basically like what Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden and all these people believe. So it's one step away. So by taking everything so literally and black and white from the Hadith books, without really looking at the 1400 years of tradition, but just going straight to the Hadith, and not really and just literally taking it, they are just saying there's only one Islam. So these people, like Salafis, basically take it like that. But this other part of the community were not Salafi. So Salafism has become really big now because of Saudi funding, but but it didn't used to be like that for the longest time. You had what was known as what they call traditional Islam, which is basically what Hamza Yusuf follows and these other people follow. These people were what they call themselves traditional Muslims, or traditional. They follow traditional Islam. They differentiate themselves from Salafis. They believe that Islam, it's the goals of Islam, for example, to the goals of Sharia, to preserve life, to preserve wealth, to preserve lineage, and I forget what else there was. But basically, they say these are the goals of Sharia. So based on that, we have to look at the laws, and if the laws are not making sense, for example, apostasy law is actually turning away more people from Islam, we don't need that law anymore, right?
I mean, I don't think modern people now, those are ahkam sultaniya, and it's important to remember the Prophet ﷺ said in a sound hadith, لا تنقضين عرى الإسلام عروة عروة. The rungs of Islam, so to speak. I mean, urwa is really what you hold on to, but those placeholders of Islam are going to go one by one. And he said, كل ما تنقضي عروة يتشبث الناس بالتي تليها. Every time one of those holding places goes, people will cling to the next one. And he said, أولها, the first one, أولها, intiqadan, is al-hukmu. The first thing to go will be governance. And the last thing to go will be prayer. So the idea that Islamic law is coming back is a modern fantasy. This kind of idea that some of these Islamic movements have put out there, we need to reestablish Sharia. You're going to apply Sharia in the modern world. You create consumer societies, put false desires into people, and then you're going to, cut off their hands when they steal things. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. So I'm not an advocate of re-implementation of hudud and all these things. I think it's long gone. It's been long gone. And the had punishments are real, and I believe in them. It's not like I don't believe in them, so don't get me wrong. But I do believe that they have been grossly misinterpreted, and I also believe that implementation of them in the current social conditions would be a grave injustice.
And same with the other laws. So what they do is they're saying these laws are outdated and they're not in line with the goals of Sharia. So they're not saying that we're reforming Islam, because reform is a 4-letter word in the Muslim community. Unfortunately, nobody can come and say I'm reforming Islam, because they're like, no, Islam is perfect. However, they won't call it reform, but in a sense it is reform, because what they're doing is they're bringing it in line with the modern world, right? They're saying that all of these things, like I even had a friend saying that he wrote an article saying that like gay marriage may not be against Islam, right? And this guy's a lawyer, Muslim lawyer. His father is a scholar of some sort, or an imam, and he's basically, his name is Faisal Kuti. So he wrote this article saying that like, which is to me very surprised me. Like he was saying that gay marriage may not be contrary to Islam, not saying that it's allowed to be gay, because that's clearly not allowed. You're not allowed to have any sort of homosexual relationships in Islam. But he was saying just the marriage part of it, like the law part of it, which is they can get married. Like that shouldn't be a problem for Muslims. That's what he was saying. So again, just to go back to what like the overall, what I'm trying to say is that these people, they're doing what you can call, there's another name for it called trajectory hermeneutics. I don't know if you've heard of that, but basically what the idea is that Muhammad wanted to eliminate slavery, so he made it more difficult to get slaves. You can only get slaves from war. You can't kidnap slaves or whatever. And then he encouraged freeing slaves. And so therefore, if we take that same law and we project it forward, eventually slavery would be forbidden. Now, as an ex-Muslim, I don't buy that argument, because he could have just forbade slavery. Like honestly, he forbade riba. He made all of these other things forbidden, alcohol. He could have also made slavery forbidden. So I don't buy that. But if you're a Muslim, I'm happy if you believe this, because this is how we're gonna get Islam in line in the modern world, right? And Muslims believe this. Like these are Orthodox Muslim scholars. These are not like weird imams that are allowing women to pray in front of men, and they're like Islam and homosexuality are fine. These are not like the fringes. These are like the mainstream Muslims they're saying this now. And of course, Salafis and Islamists, Muslim Brotherhood, all of these people are against this, and they're saying, oh, these guys are sellouts. Some of them say they're disbelievers even, because they don't want to rule by what Allah revealed. So, of course, there's a tension in the Muslim community between the Islamists and the Salafis on one side, and these guys will call themselves traditional Islam on the other side. There is a clash going on, and obviously the money is funding the Saudi side, the Salafi end of it. But as time goes by, I think more and more Muslims will fall into this other camp.